I just cannot gather any enthusiasm for the cars or the people who drive them.
Welcome back to Car-Pinionated, our weekly show on cars, the car industry, and driving in general. I'm Doug Stewart, digital executive producer for Fox 61 in Hartford. And joining me is Jeff Buckholtz, writer and editor at WBBM in Chicago, and Glenn Packman from beautiful Fairfield County, comedian, interior designer, home appraiser, and all-around good guy. Um, Gentlemen, I posed the question to you in our prep um, about cars that you don't care anything about. That car, when you're reading Car and Driver or going through, Jalopnik or something, and this story comes up, and you go, "Yep, next." I don't. Yeah. And we're going to start off. I know what Glenn's is, so I'm going to go and have him start.
Okay. Brace yourself. We could get hate mail for this. I just can't get into Lexus. I can't. I just, for the life of me. We just had an episode on the Toyota RAV4, and I cacked on Toyota for having a weak design language. And Lexus has a better design language than Toyota for sure. But I am not truly intrigued by any of their lineup. I think they're ridiculously expensive. And it just, I think the thing that makes it worse for me is that they have launched a whole bunch of AI generated scripts for their commercials. And boy, is it crap. I mean, it's just, if I may, I'm going to be reading from a side screen, so you're going to get me in profile. Uh, let's see if I can find the exact thing here where it says, okay, so visual is opens on a breathtaking shot of a winding coastal road at sunset, a sleek Lexus ES Black Line Special Edition, which I don't find attractive even remotely, effortlessly glides around a curve, headlights illuminating the road ahead. Gentle, uplifting music begins. And the narrator says, there's a feeling you get when everything aligns, when the ordinary fades and the extraordinary takes hold. That's what I have to say to that. Okay. It just, oh God, it's like a perfume commercial. It's just, it's all, it just, God, no, no. And worst of all, they're talking about you drive this car, you're going to get a feeling of accomplishedness and perfection and all that. And I'm just like, no, it's a car that bores me to begin with. And now you're doing all this extra, it just, no. Um, and they've done a whole series of these, and each one is just kind of more ridiculous than the next, at least to me. So, for with all the apologies in the world to people who drive Lexuses, they're good cars, and you know they're well put together. I can't work up any sort of lather where I'm interested in these cars. They're just it's not no. I'm done.
Yeah, I they've mostly lost me with the spindle grill.
Yeah, yeah. It's at least a design choice, but that
Sure.
hourglass, it it doesn't do anything for me. I know they have a sports sedan that isn't a heinous looking car, but like their big SUV is just clunky and weird,
Mhm.
and just and there they are talking about how it's supposed to be breathtaking and supposed to, be involving and perfection on wheels. And it's like, you got a ways to go. So, and I didn't always feel this way about the line. In fact, some of the earlier ones were really beautiful cars, and I thought, okay, they're on their way, but they've gone off into infinity territory, and I'm more interested in infinity because I'm wondering if they're just going to go belly up, you know? So that's my take. With apologies to Lexus owners everywhere, I can't get into your car. Sorry. I mean, I could get into it, but I can't get into it.
All right. We're going to go to a break here, and we will be back with Jeff's. I don't care about these cars in a moment. Jeff, what's a car that you do not care the least about?
Porsche.
Really?
Glenn can't get all the hate mail this episode. I've got to take some too.
God bless.
Here's the thing. Porsches are wonderful cars. Even the SUVs are terrific by every stretch of the imagination. I think the Taycan is even kind of a decent looking car. My interest in Porsche ended in the late 70s, I think. I just cannot gather any enthusiasm for the cars or the people who drive them, frankly. You show me an old 912, maybe, or the 914, which is kind of my favorite Porsche. And I could talk about that all day long and would love that. These feel from the present generation 911, which I think is the 996 generation, all the way up to the Cayenne. They are larger than they need to be, more complicated than they need to be, and say, I think, unflattering things about the people who own them. Fight me.
No, I'm not gonna. I think
you're right.
I think they lose the plot when they have 15 different iterations of the 911 that they're selling, and I can't keep them straight. I mean, it's
No, I can't
GT,
either.
blah, 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 and they don't still call it the Boxster, do they? The
Yeah, they do.
mid-edge.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Boxster and the Cayman. Yeah, those are still around.
Again, you have 15 different iterations of this thing. Um, I I think their design language is fine.
Mhm.
But it's like none of them was, there's the old saying, like the easiest automotive design job in the world was for Volvo, and then it became Tesla. And I don't think Porsches have been far off
No.
ever, you know. I do have a soft spot in my heart for the 911, and there's a 911, two 911s that come up on the screens back here that
Mhm.
I really do like. And it's an oddball car. I don't think they're very popular with the cognoscenti, but I remember driving one, drove it on a fairly regular. There it is, right? Oh, that just went
Oh,
away.
oh,
And I just thought that was a crazy cool car. Um, but that kind of fire, that I don't think it's gone. I think it's just like, we're going to charge minimum of $200,000 for any of these, and you
yeah.
know
Yeah.
you can pay it or don't pay it if you don't like it.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, I can get a trip counter on the dash for $20,000. Sure, I'll take two at that price.
Yeah. Right.
It's just that the price proposition is ridiculous. The
Yeah.
cars, I just the design language is just uninteresting because they look the same because they have to look like Porsches. And I get that I'm not even all that mad about the fact that the Cayenne and the Macan exist. I understand that they exist so that Porsche can build 911s, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all. And as SUVs go, I think both of those cars are actually pretty solid. I just am not interested in the slightest
Yeah.
in anything that's going on there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I agree. I think it's less than ironic that both of us have chosen expensive marks that that don't provide us with a great deal of interest. I
Yeah.
I kind of like the Macan a little, but like I just out of curiosity, it was like somebody put that at the top of their small luxury SUV class, and I was like, okay. And then I took a look at how much a Macan costs.
Oh yeah,
Like, and the first thing that came to my mind was, no, I could spend
absolutely not.
I could spend that and get two cars that I'm going to like more. And that's the big prohibitor for me. I think Porsche, their last real excitement for me was the Risky Business 928. That was that was an exciting, fun car and a great car scene, by the way. Not the biggest chase scene ever, but
Who's the
really
U-boat
fun.
commander?
Ah,
The U-boat commander. There you go. There you go. I have a I have a trig midterm in the morning, and I'm being chased by Guido the
Guido
Killer
the
Pimp.
Killer Pimp.
That's Joey Pantoliano, who lives right up the street from me, by the way. He
that's right.
lives right here in Wilton.
All right, Doug, your turn for hate mail.
Anyways, go ahead.
All right. Italian supercars.
Thank you. God.
I can tell it's a Ferrari. I don't know what Ferrari it is. I don't care. It could be the cheapest Ferrari. It could be the one they make five of, right? It doesn't matter at all to me. I flip by those stories in Car and Driver. Don't care. It
Don't
can,
care.
nothing. Uh,
Yep.
some beautiful cars, some not so beautiful cars, some like, what the hell were you thinking cars?
Mhm.
Um, and I think that they're changing their process now, but it used to be that you had to buy a used Ferrari to get on the list to buy a new Ferrari. Like
Hmm.
that whole thing, like that just I'm never going to be in the market for one.
No.
Turns me off. Turns
Yep.
me off entirely.
Yeah.
Um, and the same goes for Maserati and what's
Lamborghini,
the
probably.
Lamborghini.
Yeah.
I don't
Don't
care.
care.
I
No.
don't care at all. I look at I remember I remember following a Maserati Quattroporte out of the parking garage one time, and my mother was in the car, and she often does. What kind of car is that? I said, you don't ever want to buy it. It's a miserable car. It like and it's like it needs a new gearbox every 18,000 miles or some ridiculous kind of thing that goes wrong on a regular basis. And that just like why why do you let why do you pay this much money and not have a reliable car? I can't justify in my own head
No.
why it why you don't want to have a car that will work all the time. And Jeff, you've said this about Alfa Romeos, which I feel is slightly a different class of car, but it's like it's been in the shop for 6 weeks, and they don't know what's wrong with it. It's going to cost me a pile of money, but it's the best car I ever drove. Well, that's great. What were you driving in between? You had the Camry, right? The Camry got you where you were going to go,
That's right. That's
but
right.
and it just I don't understand it. It's it's uh maybe it's just it's a expensive thing. It's a price thing. I have all this money that I can pay. I I was thinking about this, and what you said, Portia, and I was like, I could deal with. I have somewhat of an interest. I can at least tell the models apart.
Hmm.
I can't tell you a Ferrari. I can
No,
tell
not
like
anymore. Not
no.
anymore. They're just, I mean, I'm gonna sound like old man yells at cloud, but I was trying to think of the last Ferrari that I really cared about. I think it might have been the 458 Italia, which is a beautiful car. But before that, I have to go back to like, I don't know, the 400. Am I going back that far? Which is, the super blocky Pininfarina notchback with the GM automatic. Like, is that the one I'm thinking about? No, I agree with you 100%. It does not take courage to build a good $300,000 car or a beautiful $300,000 car. Or it doesn't take a lot of intellect to build. Not that those people are dumb at all, but it's not a big challenge to build a really good or really pretty $300,000 car. It
Right.
is all of those things to build a pretty $30,000.
Mhm. And look at the guff that Cadillac gets for building the Celestiq or Celestiq. I don't
Yeah.
know which it is. Like, okay, they're going out there and they're doing it, right? And I have a lot more respect for them than I do for, the I-
Hmm.
I don't know how many cars Ferrari sells in a year, but why do they have like at least seven different models?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, and they can't. There's some of them probably don't make more than 100 a year. How do you actually build that? I mean,
Yeah,
I'm thinking from like in my core, I'm a logistics guy, right?
sure.
Right,
Yeah.
and I look at like, okay, so you have your average Ford plant that maybe produces three models, right? And now you have Ferrari producing seven, and they're like, I don't get it. The thing I wanted to say about the Lexus is, back in May, I was at a International Motor Press Association gathering in Pennsylvania, and they had a series of cars that you could take on a short little ride. And I had been really looking forward to, is it the GX 500? Essentially the Lexus
The Land
version
Cruiser.
of the Land Cruiser, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Great interior, beautiful. I like the way it looked. Just it's everything that you expect a Lexus to be. Got in it, started it up. It had a really agricultural sound to the engine. I was really disappointed. Um, I just was like, I was really surprised. Um, you know, and it didn't make sense. The other thing you talked about, Glenn, is that they do have the IS, which the IS, the Lexus IS dates back to probably 12 or so years. So I think it's the last car available with a CD player. Oh.
I'm looking it up.
um, and I think, outside of the grill,
Oh,
I think it's a nice looking car. But sure.
yeah. I I look at it and I just say, well, I'd go with the Acura first. So, you know,
Hmm.
is it still the TL? The
It's a
TL
TLX.
Right.
TLX.
Yeah.
Right.
Very sharp. That reminds me a little bit of the TLX. I'd go there first. I just would.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm more interested. That's all. Just not.
Well,
Uh,
and also underneath, it's still a really nice Honda Accord.
yeah. Right. Right. Exactly. And this is just a really nice Camry. So,
The ES is, yes.
yeah.
Okay.
The
Okay.
ES. Okay. Years ago, I think it was the predecessor to the IS. It was a sharp little car. It had some nice lines to it. And I went to one of the auto shows and I was really excited to just get a look at it and get behind the wheel. I couldn't fit. I did not fit in this car. I'm serious, and I'm not that big. I'm 6'1.5", and about right at this point at about 215. I could not comfortably operate this car. I was
Is that the first generation one with like the
very,
combined speedometer, tach, kind of chronometer looking
yes,
instrument
yes.
cluster layout? Oh, those were sweet. And you can
They,
get those as a wagon too, and those were really
yeah,
nice.
they were cool. They
Yes.
were cool. But I was so disappointed because I was like, maybe that'll be my next car. Maybe we'll have one practical car and we'll have the fun car, and maybe that'll be it. And then I got in this thing and it was just
Hmm,
cramped and uncomfortable.
interesting.
Couldn't put the seat back far enough. Was scraping the headliner with my big fat head and just so. And I
Hmm.
think maybe that started the whole disinterest in Lexus thing, but it's more than that. It's another one like with Porsche. I take a look and I was like, I got better ways of spending my money. And
Mhm.
it's funny that all three of us have chosen very expensive luxury marks because
Mhm.
there's more pressure on them to make a more exciting, interesting car. I'm bowled over that in their ads, Lexus is like, oh yeah, we have the most exciting and interesting cars on the planet, dude. Hello, AI says so, and it's like,
And we'll be back in a minute. It's more accurate than Lexus. Well, it's just I give Lexus credit for creating an enormous sea change in the luxury car market.
yeah.
In the late 80s, the early
Mhm.
90s, of really just level set a whole new idea about and I remember they used to call them Palos Verdes Corollas.
Yeah.
Um, and okay, and that's good. And the Acura NSX just completely told the
Oh,
Italian car industry, like, this is actually how you do it. And you can have seat heat in the winter and air conditioning that works all summer long. And,
yeah.
it
Right.
starts every
Right.
time.
Right.
And so they change it for the better.
The
Yeah,
initial,
that original LS, I
yeah,
mean, scared the crap out of Mercedes. Like,
yeah,
and
rightly so.
you can see the kind of progression, the panic at Daimler once people started buying the LS 400. And Acura was a little bit first, but it was really Lexus that caused that change,
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
in the way that it really did upend the what a lot of people think of as luxury, in the way that Tesla kind of did 10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
I was way
Yeah.
more interested in those original Lexuses. They were just more interesting cars. They were nice to look at, and the whole idea of, okay, so we're going to take all that Toyota common sense and good engineering and solidity and put it into a luxury mark. That all made sense back then. It's just, to me, it's gotten stale,
Mhm.
and just not interesting. It's like they put it on cruise control, every pun intended. And I don't know, just the current stuff just beyond, um,
Yeah.
for me. But Doug, I'm
Um,
going to send you some Ferrari versions. I was trying to think of like the last Ferrari that made me go, wow, what a beautiful car. And I think it was maybe the 308. And I don't even think the 308.
Oh,
this is
sure.
that the Magnum one?
That's
Magnum.
Magnum's
Yes, it's the
car. Yeah,
Magnum
Yeah.
one. Yes, thank
yeah,
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I don't even
yeah.
think that was like one of their better ones. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
I guess
and
I'm way
and
more interested in what's going to be appealing to the masses, and what the everyday driver
yeah,
wants to drive. That is just more in my wheelhouse. So if you own a
Yeah,
Lexus and you love it, don't send me hate mail. I completely support your choice.
you mentioning sending Doug Ferrari brochures made me think. When's the last time any of you guys saw a car brochure?
Brochure, right? Gone.
oh
Now,
God.
when I was a child, and I'm sure when you all were children, you longed for any opportunity for your parents to take you along to a service trip or whatever, so that you could just grab up pamphlet after pamphlet and spend,
Mhm.
untold hours in your room poring over the option packages available on the Chevrolet Camaro Berlinetta, or whatever. But I don't know that I can think of the last time I saw a brochure at a dealership. I think now they just have QR codes for you to scan, and then all of the
Mhm.
stuff comes up.
Yeah, sure.
And that's great. And I'm sure it's a heck of a lot cheaper, and better for the environment. But I do sort of miss those, being able to like take it home and sort of absorb the stuff
Right.
that's in it.
And go ahead, Glenn.
I will say that I get a publication in the mail, so I can actually hold on to it. It's a little magazine from Buick, and it has a couple little articles, and it generally goes over the lines, and it just has pictures of each of the models and everything. And so it's sort of like a cross between a little promotional magazine and a brochure, but it's awfully nice. They do a great job with it, and it's very nostalgic. It just, whenever it arrives, it makes me just
Oh,
realize,
wait. I'm having a problem going. Buick and nostalgia.
Right.
You almost don't need to say one of those words.
Right. Right.
Ford did this for decades, and
Oh
the
yeah.
Ford Times was great, and they did it for a long time. And you can find a lot of the issues
Yeah.
on Ford's Heritage site now.
Yep.
But they were like actual full magazines where they
Yep.
hired really good writers and sent them out in cars and stuff. Like it was actually real
Yeah.
journalism kind of.
It's pretty cool to look at. I know exactly what you're talking. I'll put a link up on the screen here. And I'm pretty sure they have most of the
Mhm.
I almost said episodes issues. Um yeah, and I I I have somewhere, and if I have a bunch of car brochures that I found in my move, that I kept, specifically for, I'm pretty sure I still have, um around a 72 Lincoln brochure,
Oh,
somewhere.
nice.
And I'm absolutely certain, because I saw it a couple weeks ago, 85 Chrysler LeBaron GTS Turbo, which is the one I had for the car rental
Mhm.
company.
So,
Um,
so that's
yeah,
a good one to have. Yeah.
yeah, like they're at the final hours of moving stuff. There was a lot of stuff that had to be thrown out, and I'm glad that those survived.
Yeah. That's cool.
Well, but all right, we are going to wrap up this episode of Car-Pinionated. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Thank the fine folks at WBBM for offering up their conference room.
Yeah.
I'm sure as
And
soon as they find out, they'll be very happy to hear about it.
and the the estate of Glenn Packman and Bill Biggs. All right. If you want to see old episodes of Carpiniated, because we're fun people to go back and look at stuff for. Um, we're gonna they're on our YouTube page. Oh, look, it's which I'm sorry, I don't remember.
No.
Nico.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, little one.
Hi.
He's my little diva.
No.
All right. That'll be all. We will see you next time.